So if you were on my page recently or coming from my page when I record this, you have met one half of every man. Woman and man. Because within every woman is man, depending on your view of humanity's history. And that's part of what we're going to discuss today at the University of Freedom, and in the just proving that we're all alive and in this thing together. If we teach evolution, then man has come from ape. I've been to jungles. I dance with white-faced monkeys. I find my place of peace in my mind. Because survival puts you in monkey mind. That's why I get pain from the electrical symbols in my body trying to bring you back hunched over, and they say you have arthritis and you're just in monkey mind, you're just in survival mode all the time. That is survival all the time. But I had to become a man of peace. I had to find a place that I could go. And if you've ever been abused, if you've ever been raped, if you've ever been in survival, hide, fight or flight mode, it's not true, it's fight, flight. Or freeze. Freeze and do nothing. And in business, I bring all these teachings around to the idea of business, and we're going to discuss this. You do the same thing. We make decisions about our life all the time. Fight, flight, freeze. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I'm battery operated. So therefore my heartbeat cannot function in its natural biorhythms. And even when I was born, it was off. So my perspective of the world is different. You have to listen long enough to see who the real me is. There was once a wolf. He always was a little bit weaker than the other wolves. He was the run of the pack. They always kind of beat him up. If not physically, because he learned to fight back and bite hard. And if he bit harder, and he attacked back first, and he could survive him. If you've ever read the book Call of the Wild, it's a good story to introduce you to this man. Because this wolf became a man in time. This wolf was different, and he watched man care about animals. And he watched man kill his brothers and sisters who tried to eat those animals. But he watched man kill animals in the forest. He watched man step on any bug or animal that he didn't like. And this wolf, he also hurt. For each and every one of his pack that he had to watch die throughout the years as he watched man. So one day, the wolf went to his pack and he said, I noticed this thing about man. He cares very much for his tribe, and he considers those particular animals his tribe, even though he will later eat them. Like us, he wants to eat. But unlike us, he protects his food. What if we went and helped man protect his food in exchange for some of that food? Instantly, the pack lunged on him. You can't do that. Man has killed us for generations. And they bit him, and they snarled at him, and they ate at him, and they nipped at him, and he could not fight back hard enough, and he had to run, and he was no longer allowed in his community because he suggested things be different. He suggested a new way. He sought some other wolf that might join him in his idea, so that they could go as a pack to protect man from other wolves outside of their pack. And they would form a new pack. But nobody wanted to come with the wolf. And everywhere he went, they bit him and they snarled at him. Go away, go away, go away. He learned how to gently approach people. He learned how to not always be barking. But he knew that if he could use those skills, he could help man. And he watched man with his sheep, and he watched the sheep, and he watched his brothers kill the man's sheep, and he watched man kill his brothers and sisters, and he continued to be in pain because he knew there was a solution, but he couldn't figure out a way to implement it, and he waited. And then one night, the man was out tending to his sheep in a storm, and there was a sheep stuck in the mud, and the man could not get to it and rescue it, but the wolf could, and he knew that this was his chance, but he was going to have to use the very teeth that he killed with to gently get a hold of that lamb and bring it out of the mud, because the man could not climb down to where he was at and carry it back up. And the man screamed and yelled, and he threw his spears and he threw his arrows at the wolf as he came to rescue the sheep. And he grabbed the sheep around the neck and he pulled him up out of the muck, and the lamb was screaming and crying. The wolf climbed the mucky, nasty hill, gently carrying the lamb, and he humbly placed it before the same person who had killed his people. And he said, "Let us work together. I will protect your sheep from those that wish to destroy it, if you will just feed me and help me build a pack. And my pack will live with your pack, and we will live in harmony forever." And the Creator saw the bravery of that wolf, and man saw the bravery in that wolf, and the wolf was able to become a man. And that is why we are all sheepdogs as men. The man of chaos, the evil wolf, is the wolf that knows how to kill, that knows how to rip the throat, and live by the law of the jungle. When I was being held in Costa Rica, in a beautiful place. There's nothing like being a prisoner in a beautiful place, to test to see if I was really as macho as I presented myself to be, if I could really survive jungle law. I learned as I danced with the monkeys and did yoga to try to relieve all the body pain I was in from having my chest ripped open like a deer, gutted, stretched out the same, my heart dead, pulled out, my brain gone, everything dead, only a machine pumping to keep the organs and things from metastasizing and dying. I've been dead more times than most people have ever experienced life. There's a beautiful thing about almost being dead. It gives you a perspective on life and an appreciation that you will not have. And that is why we have this innate desire to experience this jungle life. So in the monkeys, when I danced with them, I noticed the first ones came in were the scouts. And he came in slow, and he was the one that watched me. And as I practiced the art of finding peace, I imagined a world of peace. And what would it look like if everybody had food, everybody had clothing, everybody had shelter? How would I feed the poor children who are living in dumps in a world of capitalism where nobody cares about more than money, but we have to have a measurement of our individual accomplishment, and that is the good thing of capitalism. We can also use the good thing of everything. We don't have to only accept one half of it. There is not just yin and yang. There is a third dimension to reality. In fact, there's at least 10 proven by science, if you believe in science, since we're all believing in science and wearing masks. Back in the day when I wore a mask, you was a bank robber. We can live in any time in our mind. I've proven it with the links below that I'm not crazy. I had all these desires and dreams, and I understood them, and I have just been waiting for technology and things to catch up, because I am from a future, because you can look forward, you can remember your future just as easily as you can remember your past. And if we only focus on our past, then we will never move forward. I, on behalf of all of humanity, am just broken by what we have done as humans to each other over the eons. We are in a law of the jungle, but we can also have dominion over the jungle. Look at the how to reforest and how to turn a place that I am at. Let me help you. That's probably not a very good picture. How do we turn my 20 acres into an example of how to reclaim overgrown areas and help transform them into natural food forests? I have not seen this being done. Everybody's like, well, just leave that alone. Well, there's no food, or there's some, but there's not as much as I want. There's not enough to feed it. And if you don't have a balance in the universe and in nature and in survival out here, and if we don't find a balance in our society as a whole between the dark wolf and the sheepdog, then we can't be men. So you teach us to be that we're from the jungle, that we evolved from that, and that yet all of that evolution is toxic. It's the same guy that protected everything. It's the same guy who is now being asked to say all of that is wrong. Well, it wasn't wrong for the time. It's wrong in our perspective now. The 3 R's of education, and what I first wrote in my book was to review our past. That's why we go and we review where we were in life. If you look at the story of the hat, right? Why do I wear the hat? We come back and we review where we were when we made the decision. What was life like then? What was it like in the Middle Ages when they didn't have robotics? What was it like when there was barbarian hordes at your door? You're seeing it now in some of those cities, and you want to get the hell out of there. You want some sheepdog to come and keep them wolves from you, but you don't like it when the sheepdog disciplines you. That's the only thing about the sheepdog. The sheepdog is still a wolf. Your protectors, those police officers that you hate. I don't like corruption. I don't like police when they enforce laws that are directly against man's right to be free. Police ought to be conflict negotiators with guns to protect their sheepdogs. They are our sheepdogs to protect us from the wolves. You don't want me to be a wolf. It is only by the salvation of Jesus Christ, that I was not a wolf and a predator, and I prey on people like you that are weak. It's hard as a man to deny and be told that you are evolved from nature when nature's driving force is to recreate life, and we don't know how to recreate life other than a fuck. So we have to learn how to create in our heads, and that's why we created solutions to please you, to keep you warm enough, to keep you safe enough, to keep you comfortable enough, to make your hair look pretty, to buy you gold. You know, the whole thing of Facebook was just to impress a girl. We just want a woman to not reject us for who we are as a man. You fall in love with us and you tell us you love, oh, I love him. He's so masculine. He's so an asshole. You don't put up no shit from nobody. And then we don't put up with your shit. And he's an asshole. He don't put up with shit from nobody. And he don't listen to me. What the fuck? You can't have it both ways. I cannot be both yin and yang at the same time. So I am moving beyond the grid. I am moving beyond those two-dimensional black and white. We are only one thing, and because I am neither all human nor all robot. I am the singularity. I am the connection of technology and humanity. And so if we are going to create robots, we are going to have to love our robots. I watched the Mars show and I wept because that robot had to die on a planet alone, and I understand because I've put my mind onto another planet as a robot so I could put my consciousness, because I believed in my mind that when they put this thing in me that I was going to connect, that my DNA would connect to it. And because I believed it, and that's what I've put into my brain, and that's what I've programmed because of the books like Ant and the Elephant and the things that I learned as I walked my business journey to create a sustainable business, something that was about me, something that I could turn my life story into. Because that was all that I have is my life. And you tell me it's worthless? You tell me that the fight that I've had to do to be survivable in a world that will allow you to starve to death, even though there's an abundance, because we have to have a measure of value. We have no place to come home to, ladies. There is no place to come home and be encouraged. As I searched through human history and I traveled through time, I looked at how did we do it? How do we do it even in places that it works? And did you know that in a lot of tribes, that if somebody screws up, they surround that person and they talk about all the good they did? My love language is words of affirmation, and I have met half a dozen people that can really well speak that, and that have spent enough time to do that. In fact, one of the only ways that men speak affirmation is to challenge your manhood and then allow you to rise up to it. But that takes a lot. And sometimes we don't know what that looks like. And we don't know how to do that because women have been driving their men away when they found out that it was able to be survived without them. And they could just switch men and not have to come together and decide that family means family forever. The only reason that it was okay in human history for there to be polygamy and things where a man would take on multiple wives, and why God said to do that in the Old Testament was because you had to care for the ladies who were going to help your herd, just like in nature. That's why when we develop in the womb, we start as things that look like lizards and kind of alien at times, and we are all the potential of life. I've walked alone in the woods where if one fall, one twist of my ankle, one bad injury would lead to death, where one passing out heart attack could lead to death, when every time I would take steps, at times my heart would race so fast and I would not know, am I going to make it out of here? And I would never take water, and I never take supplies. I tried to carry water once. I went to New Mexico and I tried to pack all the stuff that I was supposed to carry, and I trained and I walked and I tried and I practiced, and I got out there, and God showed me his majesty as I sat at the bottom of the hill, and I looked up at the top of this mesa, and I connected with the people who had once lived there eons ago, and the just enormity of it in creation and my pathetically small self. And then God sent the biggest thunderstorm that area had seen in 20 years and had me on a wrong journey because I messed up my intuition and went a way that was the wrong way. I actually followed my intuition and went the wrong way, knowing it was the wrong way, trying to just follow what I was created for. I never knew. Why was I so messed up? What was so wrong with me that I had so much ambition and so much potential that it would constantly be ripped from me and destroyed? We have at this time in humanity so much potential, yet we are ripping it up and destroying it. You met the wolf. Now you meet the sheepdog, the one that's humble enough to come to the man that has killed everything in history and say, I'm willing to forgive you. That's what Christ has done for all of us. And that's what I asked for, and asked that if we are going to have a life where I could live for 20 years, I wanted it to be a good life. And what could I do to make the world a better place? And I took all the things that were good and bad about me, and I figured out how to put them together in a brand and into an image and into a company and into products that I imagined but never ended up having to make. I said when I was in college and I wrote a paper that the future would be, some places would be manufacturing centers, other places would be clothing centers, other places would be food centers, other places would do other things, and we would be able to do commerce on an international level the way we did commerce at a local level. Manufacturing future is small, regional, bespoke, where you can come in and have a custom designed furniture, a custom designed house that can be printed and manufactured using robots. We can have things that are manageable, like an app on our phone that can feed us and that can harvest for us. We can create our own monkeys that know how to sense and pick fruit, but we do not want to destroy the real ones just for the sake of recreating other ones. We spent so much going to Mars to study it, and we still haven't figured out how to take care of life here. That's what this company is all about. That's what Geared for Life is all about. That's what straight up survival is all about. I'm Justin Conrad von Supertramp Kurtz. I'm a time traveler, cyborg from the future, and I'm here to save humanity. What do you want to do with your life?